Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Farzy Show. My name is Marc Farzetta here at the Steven Singer Studios. We got Sixers stuff to get into. We got Eagles stuff to get into. We got Philly stuff to get into. And, of course, we got some Flyers action going on as well. Sixers, we play a little bit of a back-to-back. But a couple of things melted my brain. Yesterday, one thing melted my brain. And today, about an hour ago, another thing melted my brain. Now, you might say, Mark, oh my goodness, you taped the show at 6 a.m. What could have melted your brain by that time? Well, I'll tell you. Hey, remember the paper, or at least the Daily News? Remember that? Your mom and dad used to read it all the time and stuff with their bacon and eggs and their coffee. Well, look at this. Back page. No, sorry. I thought it was the back page when I originally looked at it. That's what melted my brain. You got Joel Embiid on the front page of the Philadelphia Daily News for today's edition, COVID-21. COVID-21. As in Joel Embiid's number, 21. For those that don't get the pun? Yeah, that's where I'll go. Pun. That's the front page of the Philadelphia Daily News, that Joel Embiid now has COVID-19. We're going into the game last night. I think we all saw the tweets. We all saw the reports that were out there. We were first watching everything and following everything with Ben Simmons. Then the news comes out about JoJo not being, testing positive for COVID-19. So now that's Isaiah Joe, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. Am I leaving anybody out of that roll call? No? Okay. What is going on with this basketball team? I don't see many other teams around. I don't see any teams around the NBA going through what the Sixers are going through right now without 4 players out due to COVID. What is it we're doing here that we need to look at and focus on and make sure that we're dealing with this in a better manner? Because after the game, or before the game last night, Doc Rivers was asked about Joel Embiid and how he was doing. He is not asymptomatic. He is experiencing symptoms, as did Tobias Harris. So both those guys are experiencing some difficulties with COVID-19. I don't know. They didn't get into specifics as to what that was. They just said that they weren't doing well. And as someone who had COVID, someone who did deal with it, I can tell you, I think of myself as having a mild case of it where I just felt like I had fatigue and I had a headache. It was basically like mono with a headache. That's what I experienced. And I know people have experienced far worse than that. But what is going on right now with the Sixers? The question needs to be asked when it comes to the front page of the Daily News now highlighting this issue with the 76ers. Now, Joel Embiid is in the league's health and safety protocols, obviously. It's a 10 days quarantine, and then that's also needing 2 negative COVID tests 24 hours apart, which is the same rule as the NFL. So now we're in a holding pattern with Joel Embiid to see how long this takes. We're still waiting to see how long this is going to take with Tobias Harris. There's a lot of stuff going on right now when it comes to the 76ers and COVID-19. I just hope that the team is addressing this because this is an issue. And it's been an issue. This is nothing that snuck up on the Sixers. Tobias Harris being out is bad enough. Then Matisse Thybulle and Isaiah Joe. And now your MVP runner-up, Joel Embiid. And you already have Ben Simmons not playing for totally different reasons. You're already shorthanded. And last night's game was an example. And I know that they fought back into the game. And I know they made a game of it late. And they had a great run. But last night's game is a perfect example of why you can't miss your stars in the NBA, which is pretty much the most obvious thing I could ever say into a microphone out loud to you fine people. So whatever is going on, let's get involved. Let's trace our steps, see what everybody's doing, and then hopefully the Sixers won't have this issue going forward. And Joel Embiid, by the way, is vaccinated. So this is another interesting thing out of all of that. Now, the other story that goes in today, by the way, Sixers lost to the Knicks last night, in case you couldn't pick that up, which is not good. Tyrese Maxey's struggling a little bit in that game, trying to do a lot. I would describe Tyrese Maxey's game real quick, last night's game, that is, as strong to the hole, weak with the finish. Yeah. Hard to the hole, soft with the finish. A little too soft, unfortunately. But we'll get into that a little bit more later, a little bit more specific. The other thing that rocked our world a little bit I made us do a double take to make sure that we were reading the right thing, is Ben Simmons is now, we knew this yesterday, is cluing the Sixers in on what he's got going on. He's agreeing to meet with team specialists, mental health specialists, to at least bring them up to speed on where he's at right now. So they're going to be updated, which is great. It's a step in the right direction, obviously. I wish it didn't have to come down to threatening to fine or actually fining for another game check, but that's where we're at right now on this whole thing with Ben Simmons. So he's agreed to talk to the team. Now, on top of that, Sirianni of The Athletic put out a story saying that the Boston Celtics are kicking the tires on a trade for Ben Simmons. The name that's been brought up, Jalen Brown. So if you go back to the 2016 draft, Ben Simmons number 1 overall, Brandon Ingram number 2, Jalen Brown number 3. I'd pull the trigger on that deal in a heartbeat. You kidding me? You're going to give me Jalen Brown? Oh, Ben Simmons goes to the Celtics. Okay. I'm all right. Enjoy that, Boston. Okay. So we're an intense city. And as much as we like to just kind of say we're different than everybody else, we're not all that different. Are we different? Sure, we're different. We're all different. We're all different people. But when it comes to being an intense sports city, Boston is certainly up there with being an intense sports city. Not all that different from here in Philadelphia. So if Ben wants to go to Boston, if that's where the Sixers are going to end up trading him, I don't necessarily see Ben Simmons flourishing in Boston. Oh, he's going to face the Sixers, and he's going to be amped up to play the Sixers. At this point, I'll take being amped up to play the Sixers as long as he's not playing for the Sixers anymore. But that is a trade I would in no way, shape, or form see coming. I did not see coming, but if that does happen, you get Jalen Brown here in Philadelphia. You bring his 23 points per game over the last 3 years to Philadelphia, already an all-star. Yeah, that's the guy I'm looking for. Yeah, I'll take that guy. I think that you're talking about going strong to the hole and finishing strong. That's exactly what Jalen Brown likes to do. He can also shoot a little bit from the outside, so yeah, I'll take him. That's exactly what I'd like to see the Sixers pull off. Still, Dame Lillard is the apple of my eye. I'm not cheating on Dame Lillard here, folks. But if you can get Jalen Brown here for Ben Simmons and that's the deal you can get done, I'm more than happy to pull that trigger. Throw in some picks as well, maybe, see how much you can get out of this, and I'm willing to party. I still think, and I want to say this, as much as I am looking forward to moving on from this whole Ben Simmons fiasco, I do want to see him play. I want to see if he can help his trade value here in Philadelphia by playing a little bit this season. And I told you guys, what was it, the middle of next week? Or actually after this game tonight, actually, against the Bucks. Sixers are going to go on that long road trip. 6 games. Now would not be a bad time to get Ben Simmons out there. Still, there's nothing that leads me to believe right now that he will play. There's no reports out there saying that, oh yeah, they're almost about to turn the corner and he's going to play. Nothing. But I'm just saying, if this was all just a big holdup, I'll say, now is the time to get him out there and actually have him play a little bit before you trade him. Show teams he's healthy, show teams he's in shape, show teams he can still be the Ben Simmons that you've seen throughout the vast majority of his career during the regular season, and then it'll make him a lot more of a, the apple of other GM's eyes, if you think about it. Actually, maybe you give up a little bit more for Ben Simmons. So maybe he does. Highly doubt that he doesn't, but that's where we're at right now with the 76ers and Ben Simmons. Sirianni putting that story out, Adrian Wojnarowski putting a story about Ben meeting with team doctors and trying to keep track of where exactly Ben Simmons is right now in this entire process. So we're just going to keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully this is over sooner rather than later. But the bottom line is, I know we're all tired of it, and I'm tired of it. I just told you that. But if this is somehow going to net a better return on a Ben Simmons trade by actually playing him, and this drags out for a little bit longer, I'm all about that waiting game. I'm all about waiting to see what you can bring back in if it means Ben Simmons is going to play a little bit more and you're going to get a little bit more in return. Because really what it comes down to, I mean, Jalen Brown certainly is not wasting the prime years of Joel Embiid. So I'm all about bringing him in if that can happen right now, because that guy's ready to win and ready to play right now. But if it means you can net a little bit more of a return by waiting a couple more weeks, waiting another month, that's fine with me. See what they can pull off, see what they can bring back. Daryl Morey is dug in, as we all know, on this Ben Simmons, can't say it enough, fiasco. We'll get a little bit more into the Sixers. Another story coming up a little bit later in the show. Hugh Douglas does join us today on this fine Hughes Day, by the way, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And Nick Sirianni addressed the media yesterday. Now, real quick, before I get to Nick, I mentioned there was two things that melted my brain. Here's the other one. If you remember yesterday, we were talking about what the Eagles did as far as blitzing Justin Herbert. And I was unaware of this. But if you look at what happened yesterday with what we were complaining about from Jonathan Gannon's defense, it was that they weren't blitzing Justin Herbert. Apparently, according to Pro Football Focus, getting this by way of Jeff McClain, the Eagles blitzed Justin Herbert 12 of 41 drops, or 29.3% of the time, for the highest rate of the season per Pro Football Focus. Completed 8 of 11 of those throws, and also had a touchdown. 8 of 11 for 73 yards and a touchdown. He also scrambled for a touchdown, which was the last time Jonathan Gannon sent more than 4 rushers. On the last 2 drives was the only time he sent more. I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this other than the fact I can't believe they actually blitzed more than ever. And the fact that blitz didn't get home ever is mind-blowing to me. So they blitz. This is how bad the Eagles blitz is. They blitz more than ever than any other game, and nobody noticed. That's horrible. And one of the things that we did notice, because this seems to happen every single time, is you're playing that soft zone coverage where your corners, your defensive backs are playing so far off the line of scrimmage, so far off their man, that if you're blitzing in that scenario, oh, it's coming, boom, throws out. Because you know you have the room between your wide receiver and your defensive back to actually complete a pass. And that's exactly what happened with Justin Herbert. One of the throws by the new corner, whose name I have butchered a million times over already, Charcuterie, I think is how you say it. He comes out yesterday, or he comes out in the game on Sunday, and he gets in the backfield, and Justin Herbert rolls out, completes the ball down the field. I think it was a Keenan Allen for 19 yards. So it was like that was one blitz that I saw. The other was Steven Nelson, where he got the penalty. But 9 other ones? Okay. This is definitely one of those instances where I look at Pro Football Focus and I go, how are you a thing? Because we'll watch games and we'll see this guy had this great game. And then we'll go look at Pro Football Focus and it was like, hey, his quarterback rating, his true quarterback rating was 7. It's like, what? How the hell is that possible? He threw 4 touchdowns. Nick Foles, I remember, had like 4 touchdown passes in one game, and his rating was terrible. Then I was like, wait, how'd you get that number? So I was like, is this one of those instances? I went back, I watched it. It's still not very noticeable in terms of getting after the quarterback. So we'll try to figure that out for you a little bit later down the line, and we'll see if whether or not going up against the Denver Broncos this weekend actually shows the Eagles doing some blitzes that are a little bit more noticeable, I guess. But I saw that yesterday, and it was one of those things. I'll put it up again. It was one of those things from Jeff McClain. I sat there, and I read this multiple times, trying to figure out. I'm sorry. They blitzed more than ever? I find that really hard to believe. More than ever this season, of course. Now let's get to the man you've all been waiting to hear, Nick Sirianni's day after news conference. He's got a chance to look at the film. He's got a chance to look at the tape. And I know a lot of people recently have been talking about the personnel on this football team and whether or not it's Jonathan Gannon, whether or not it's Nick Sirianni, whether or not it's either of these coaches not having a good scheme or game plan, or whether or not it's just that they're not good enough. Now, going into this season, most people would say not good enough. Looking at the roster, not good enough. But even the things that we thought would be good this year, like the defensive line, hasn't been that good this year. Brandon Graham's obviously hurt. Javon Hargrave started out great. Now is not just leveled off, but just hasn't been good. Fletcher Cox, the same thing. So the people that you can hang your hat on, you really haven't been able to hang your hat on so far this season. So that's been a little disappointing. Offensively speaking, we knew Jalen Hurts was going to be a work in progress. We knew Devontae Smith was going to be a little bit of a work in progress. And that's all been true. You knew Zach Ertz still had a chance to be traded. So going into the season, you kind of knew what the deal was. The personnel wasn't going to be that great to begin with. So Nick Sirianni got asked the question yesterday about scheme and personnel, and what are the conversations like between himself, between Nick Sirianni, and Howie Roseman when it comes to the personnel, and do they have the right pieces on this team to make any kind of push late in the season when the schedule gets really soft? Here's Nick Sirianni and how he chose to answer that question yesterday about personnel on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Point is the players on this football team
become and have here.
Yeah, good question, Josh. We talk about everything. Howie and I, we talk about everything, the communication with everything, right? And so players, that's obviously our biggest talking point is the players on this football team. And so it's everything. Like we're evaluating. He's getting, we're talking through who played well, who played poorly, who played okay. Why they did what they did. What all sorts of things like that. So there are so many pieces to getting better every single day. And you're 100% right, Josh. This isn't that is a big part of it, right? Of the guys out there. I think we have everybody in this building that we need to win football games. And so, again, we gotta play better. We gotta coach better to be able to do that. But I think you've seen us in a spot where when we're playing consistent, we can play pretty well. But it's the consistency's not there right yet. It consistently. And so, that's my job as the head coach to get it there. But I do believe we have everybody in this building we need to win this division and to win football games, to be able to move on. Again, I don't want to sit here and say anything about, to win this game right here. We only think about this one game right here. And so, I believe we have good pieces on this team, and I'm excited to work with all the pieces on this team. But as far as the discussion of players and what we're looking for, and we have constant communication with that, so yeah, I'm very appreciative of the open relationship between our personnel department and our coaching.
So that was confidence. That was what? What the hell was that? By the way, for those that are listening on the podcast and hadn't seen a picture of Nick Sirianni, feel free. I want you to know that he was wearing a Phillies hoodie during that press conference. So that's just something that needs to be pointed out. Nobody asked him about the flowers. What the hell? They're throwing flowers at Nick Sirianni. I can't imagine what they're throwing at Jonathan Gannon. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he's trying to show confidence in his players, but I think he knows the people that he has are not it. And as far as conversations with Howie Roseman go about personnel, I don't trust anything, any coach, even Doug Peterson, anybody. Like, no one's going to tell you, oh, yeah, I got nothing on this. I don't pick the players. That's how he does, and I just kind of go with what he gives me. Like, I don't think any coach is going to say, oh, I don't have a say or pull in any of this. That's where I think a lot of people, yeah, and they're not going to go there. But as far as the personnel this team has, like to quote my late great Uncle George, you ain't fooling me none. And you ain't fooling us none when it comes to what this Eagles team has and what they don't have. What we thought they would have is a strong defensive line. Haven't seen a whole lot of that this year. Again, so 5 good games in the start of the season. Really good games by Javon Hargrave. Really haven't seen Fletcher Cox much at all. Darius Slade, a couple of good plays. Avonte Maddox has been very good this season when he's healthy. He missed a couple of quarters Sunday. But overall, this defense hasn't done much to really show you that they're anything special. In a lot of cases, anything even NFL worthy. And I would certainly put Jonathan Gannon's scheme under not NFL worthy above all else. Because if your scheme truly is to blitz that many times, most ever all season, which still I don't believe you, but those are the numbers from a credible source in Pro Football Focus. If those are the numbers, and that's how many times you were choosing to be aggressive by sending more than 4 rushers, then why weren't your corners playing up in press coverage on those particular plays? Because you're negating your own effort. You're wasting your own effort by blitzing without using press coverage as many times on the outside. And if that's the case, and you're doing that because you're afraid the blitz gets beaten, Then I understand why you've been a little gun-shy, or very gun-shy, on blitzing all season long. But if you're going to go after the quarterback, go after the quarterback. You got to jam the guys in the line of scrimmage. Hope you can hold it up there for a second. Let the rush get home. And look, we played for you guys yesterday, Javon Hargrave, talking about how he's not defensive coordinator. He's not the defensive coordinator, and he's not going to call more blitzes, whatever it might be. But the funny thing is, because everybody, and the first 5 minutes of Jonathan Gannon's press conference was all about the blitz and all about completion percentage and all that. Nobody after the game said, oh, yeah, well, we did blitz a lot. Like, nobody said that. It wasn't even asked about yesterday during the press conference with Nick Sirianni. No defensive player that came out, TJ Edwards, obviously Javon Hargrave, when asked about blitzing more, nobody was like, oh, we did blitz. We blitzed more than we did all season. Nobody came out and said that. Nobody even came out with the idea of, I think we actually blitzed more this game than ever this year. I think we actually did a lot of that. Nobody! Which only leads me to believe further that some numbers off there, Pro Football Focus, because we did see a lot of the blitzing. That would have been nice. Instead of another quarterback just being allowed to sit in that pocket and be comfortable as all heck as things went on. So annoying. So unbelievably annoying. Hugh Douglas coming up in just a second, but I want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Ladies and gentlemen, holidays just around the corner, and do what I do when it comes to the holiday season. Big gifts, jewelry gifts, whatever it might be for the missus, that special someone in your life. Go to I Hate Steven Singer, IHateStevenSinger.com. With all the shipping delays and fulfillment issues expected for the holidays, Christmas shopping has come earlier than ever. Luckily, Steven is giving every other jeweler out there another reason to hate him. Steven Singer Jewelers is the #1 gift this holiday, diamond stud earrings. And Steven is fully stocked with the most beautiful, best value, real diamond stud earrings anywhere. Choose a great pair of Anita diamond stud earrings for under $270. Under $270 diamond earrings? Yes, please, and thank you. Says that special someone in your life. Sound familiar? That's because that was the exact same price as last year. He's not jacking up the prices. Not like that. No, he's just the man when it comes to all this because he offers everything at the perfect price every single day. No sales, no discounts, no BS. Steven's real diamond studs are flawless to the eye, near colorless, and come with his famous value lifetime trade-in guarantee. You can trade up your diamond studs anytime and receive exactly what you paid towards a new pair. And all that with an unbeatable full 100-day, 100% money-back guarantee, making it no-risk shopping. How amazing is that? No risk shopping early for the holiday. Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, on this happy Hugh's Day morning, we're going to check in with our good friend Hugh Lamont Douglas III on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. And joining us in the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line, World Series champion Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Hi.
Well, I don't play for the Braves. I just live here, and I just work on the radio. I mean that's it. The parade was phenomenal.
What did they end up doing? We had some debate about it last week. What did they end up doing?
Exactly what I thought they were going to do. They started in the city of Atlanta, then they jumped on the highway, and they went to Truist Park. I mean, because that's the only thing that made sense. Because like I said, it was, when the Phillies did it, we went through the city, and but the city is connected, and it's easy. You didn't have to get on the highway to get to the stadium. You went through the city, you went through the neighborhoods. You started in downtown, and then you went to the stadium through the neighborhoods because it's a part of the city. It was, from what I saw, it was pretty nice. There was a lot of people there. One of the fastest parades that I've ever seen. The buses were going by fast, from what I could tell from my purview, because I watched it on television, and other people were telling me that the buses were moving pretty fast through the city. And I remember thinking to myself, I went to 2 parades in Philadelphia. I don't recall anything moving as fast in those two parades as they were in this one. And on top of that, Tyler Massick almost got arrested.
I didn't see that. What happened there?
He got off the bus with an open container of alcohol, and one of the police officers then proceeded to try to arrest him because he did not know who he was. and you know what? Listen,
Jeez.
Coming from Philadelphia, and being in both of those parade atmospheres, to me, that was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. And the cop's defense was he didn't know who he was.
That didn't go over well, I'm sure.
Well, we haven't heard anything from him because, unlike Philadelphia, it's those stories like that don't get highly publicized.
I see.
If we'd have been in Philly and that would have been a Philly cop, he would have got chastised. Somebody would have called in and would have gave you his badge number and his name, and he would have been all. But again, the difference is I refuse to believe that he didn't know who he was. I refuse to believe that.
Okay.
Because this is like, it's been like 20 some odd years since the Braves have won the World Series, and you're at the parade. How the hell you don't? I mean, he jumped off the bus. How the hell do you not know who he is? Like, you might not have known his name,
right?
But damn it, you knew what he was a part of. You knew he was part of the World Series champion team. So yeah, it was. But outside of that, good times. Good times.
Here's as far as the logistics of the event. Here's what I'm picturing. It's a wedding, and the wedding's at noon. Mass is at noon. The service is at noon, and then the cocktail hour is not till like 4. So like, was there a break in the action, or was it just get out of the city and go down to the stadium?
Yes, from what I could tell, yes. That's kind of how, they went through the city. They gathered at one spot. They made sure everybody was gathered at the spot, and then they trucked it on out to the field, Truist Field, for the festivities.
Gotcha.
And party, yeah. And that's where it ended up at.
Copy that. So here's what we're dealing with right here in the city of brotherly love there, my friend. The Eagles, they lost to the Chargers, a game that I almost perfectly predicted. I said 24-23. They ended up losing 27-23. They ended up losing 27-24. It played out like I thought it would, but not exactly, only because the Eagles were in this game from Jump Street. I thought the Chargers would jump out to a big lead early, and then the Eagles had to play catch-up. They ran the football. It was a great adjustment from Nick Sirianni over the last 2 games to run the football and look like a good, aggressive football team as an offensive football team. On the defensive side of things, I feel like we're still not seeing a lot of adjustments from Jonathan Gannon. So I want to start this out by playing a cut for you from Javon Hargrave when he was asked about being aggressive and possibly blitzing more as a defense. Here's Eagles defensive tackle Javon Hargrave. By all means, please interpret this for me, my friend.
For us, we just got to keep rushing, and hopefully one time he give us a chance and we just make the play.
Should have been more blitzes.
I ain't the defensive coordinator, so I don't really, I don't do things like that, so I just play what I play.
He basically said Jeff McClain, the Inquirer, asked him, would you have liked more blitzes? And his was, I'm not the defensive coordinator, so I call what's played, or I play what's called there. How do you interpret that as a former defensive lineman yourself?
Well, he's just trying to do his job. I mean, sometimes, some blitzes are called in the huddle or non-blitzes are called in the huddle. And you might not agree with it, but you have to do what's best for the integrity of the defense. And that's kind of what I got from it. Nothing more than that. I mean, honestly, if Jeff wanted to know the answer to that question, no disrespect to Jeff, I think Jeff's a fine reporter. But you got to ask the defensive coordinator.
Right. I mean, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, because at that point, you're trying to divide and conquer a little bit. I mean, but he's trying to do his job. He's trying to sniff this story out. He's trying to get to the bottom of it. But at the same time, Javon Hargrave was like, "Hey, man, I'm just trying to do my job. I'm trying to do my job to the best of the ability." And maybe part of it is also that Philadelphia is known as a defensive town for the most part. It's a defensive town. You talk about back in the day with Chuck Bednarik and Reggie White and guys like that. I'm going way back. That's what people remember. Brian Dawkins, Weapon X, and when you have games where the defense doesn't perform up to snuff, people tend to be a little bit upset behind that.
Right.
It is what it is. You be upset.
Well, here's what I'll ask you, because I don't know what it was like with Jim Johnson. Again, I mean, we all know how aggressive you guys were in those days and all that. And the game has changed, and I concede that point. But with this team, we hear of Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson going to Nick Sirianni and saying the run is working, let's stick with the run. And we hear veteran leaders like that talk to Nick Sirianni, who's also calling plays. What is it going to take for Fletcher Cox is upset? Apparently, he had a conversation with his defensive coordinator. Now, Javon Hargrave's being asked about it, and he's saying, I'm not the defensive coordinator. What is it going to take from a veteran leader like those two to actually have a conversation, both of them, with Jonathan Gannon about, hey, look, we got to change things up because we're not getting home. We need to do something to make sure that we can get home and disrupt the timing of the quarterback.
Well, I think part of it is defensive coordinators run what they want to run. You know what I mean? And they're probably looking at it like they don't have the personnel. Haven't really watched that many Eagles games to really get down to the nitty gritty of it. He might not want to blitz because he doesn't want to put his corners on an island. He might not feel comfortable enough with them being able to match up man to man. He might not feel comfortable with them being able to cover the zones while they're trying to stun up front or do whatever they're trying to do. Or maybe he feels like he doesn't have the personnel up front to get it done. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to kind of wrap my mind around.
Gotcha.
You talk about the defense and what that defense, most of those guys, Fletcher Cox is still there. Fletcher Cox can get after the quarterback. Brandon Graham's hurt. I know that. But you got some guys that, you can line up and go. I don't know what the problem is or what coach is going through when he's calling what he's calling up there in Philadelphia.
Let me ask you this then. In a locker room, when is it necessary, or when can veterans step up and say something? When is that appropriate?
Well, it sounds to me like you said Fletcher Cox probably already had a conversation.
Yeah, and apparently it hasn't bore fruits yet, from what I understand.
I'm assuming that with that being said, coach is going to do what coach wants to do. Like, if you got a guy like Fletcher Cox that's coming there and saying something to you about it and you're not happy with the defense, I don't know where you go from there. I really, really don't. A decorated veteran such as himself, man, that is the direct, he's right there in a position to directly affect what the quarterback does, and you're not listening to that guy. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you.
Can you remember any conversations with Jim Johnson along those lines? Can you remember any conversations with maybe any of your position coaches, anything along those lines?
Mark, listen, from the time I got to Philadelphia to the time I left, we ain't never had a problem getting after no quarterback. that ain't the only problem that I've ever had with Jim is when he called a defense where I had to drop into coverage. That's the only time that I remember complaining. I come like, Jim, what you doing, Jim? Let me do what I do. Let me do what I do. Now, I don't never remember being mad, feeling like, we're not blitzing enough.
Right.
I've never felt like that. We brought that thigh out on damn play. I don't understand. I don't know all this, like not blitzing enough or not seeing the blitz. I don't know what you're talking about.
And now I don't mean that specifically, but maybe something that you wanted to do or the team needed to do where they feel like they needed to have a conversation with Jim Johnson. Was there anything like that?
No, the only thing I want to do is rush the pass. Jim let me do what I do. Like I said, Marc said, he let me do what I do.
So, all right, let's I make it do what it do, baby. Let's just think about this for a minute. What if, just this is a hypothetical world, like Fletcher Cox and I guess Javon Hargrave to this point right now are feeling like they're not being used to the best of their abilities. They're being used in a way that does not exactly make their talent shine. Mm-hmm. If you were asked to drop back in coverage a couple more times, how do you think a young, 26-year-old Hugh Douglas would have handled that?
I'd have probably been upset, but hell, Jim was the man back then. Listen, wasn't gonna say too much to Jim. It's a different dynamic.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Seattle Seahawks, and becoming our defensive coordinator, that was like a blessing. Because for me, I think we played Seattle the first year I got here. And I remember they had Mike Sinclair and Sam Adams and all those guys. Wow. Good googly moogly. And they brought the thigh out. So, like, Jim could do no wrong in my eyes. So if Jim asked me to drop, I didn't like it, but damn it, I did it because it was only a few times he asked me to do it. It's just that when I was in a game and I was humming or I wanted to get to the quarterback and he asked me to drop, I had an issue with it. But outside of that, no. Jim brought, like I said, Jim let your boy go. He let your boy.
We think about those days a lot in Philadelphia, especially when you have a defense. So even Jim Schwartz didn't blitz, but I mean he played the wide nine as you have pointed out to me time and time again.
It could be like Marc, like I said, I haven't had a chance to see them play much. The first game that I saw them play is when they came here and you know, y'all got after us in Atlanta, got after the Atlanta team. Only thing I can think of is there's some issues in the secondary, maybe, that they're trying to, you know, patchwork. There's some guys, like I haven't been watching. Have guys been hurt in the secondary? Have they been giving up a lot of big plays or something like that? Or maybe it's something where, you know, the communication is not there in the secondary. Maybe that's it. Because like I said, when you played us, y'all got after the Falcons.
Yeah. Those were the good days. Those were the good day. That was a good day with the Eagles. But I'll tell you this much. Nick Sirianni, and you know, I've had my questions about this guy. They played the Lions. They ran the football. They stuck with running the football. They had a lot of success. They go and face the Chargers, a team with the worst run defense. They come out throwing, but quickly revert back to the run where they were able to dominate the Chargers on the ground in the ground game itself. I got to give a lot of credit to Nick Sirianni. I feel like even though that flower speech happened, and I had my fun with it, and I know we talked about it as well, he seems to know how to reach this locker room, which is something that I never thought I'd say. But he seems to be getting a lot more comfortable in this locker room. You see a head coach like that start to hit it off with his team, at least the offense is looking like it's on point.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take time. Now, defensively, I don't know what's going to happen because this is not the first time, like watching from afar, that I've heard some comments about the defensive coordinator. I mean, this is not the first time. As a matter of fact, you know, sometimes across my timeline, if I mention the name Philadelphia Eagles, a story will pop up, and it'll talk about the defense and how all of a sudden, you know, things aren't what they used to be. So I mean, I see a little bit of it. It's just unfortunate for me, the region that I'm in, I don't get to see that many Eagles games. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. But yeah, I've heard rumblings from the newspaper. I've seen a few stories about it.
Gotcha. You heard anything about Jalen Hurts?
I'm hearing that he's probably not the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you know, listen, and we talked
3 first-round picks. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this at the beginning of the season, and, you know, a lot of people felt like, you know, I was trying to hate on the young man. I wasn't trying to hate. I thought he started out well with us against the Falcons and everything, but it seems like he's having a tough time. You know, new coach, things of that nature. It just doesn't seem like he's the guy. And you know as well as I do, Marc, in this league, you got to have a trigger puller. You got to have somebody that can pull the trigger. And right now, it doesn't look like Jalen Hurts is that guy.
Yeah, no, certainly not. I know we've dabbled a little bit about Ben Simmons and whether or not he plays again for the Sixers. The Sixers resumed finding him, and then he agreed that he could actually talk to the doctors that he's seeing. He's agreeing to see team doctors now to at least clue them in on what's going on. So we'll see what happens from here on out. But has your opinion changed at all as to whether or not Ben Simmons ever plays for the Sixers again?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, I think that the first thing is you got to see where he's at in his headspace. I guess in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, however long that takes. I mean, we're still dealing with uncharted waters here. We're dealing with uncharted territory, and we don't know how long something like this takes or the extent under which he wants out of Philadelphia. You know, because he was pretty adamant at first. He was pretty adamant about that at first. And the fact that he's still not out there on the court is one of those things where this might take a lot longer than we anticipated. It might take the whole season. Who knows? It might take the season.
I know that the Sixers have beaten the Hawks since the last time you and I talked when the Hawks came here to Philadelphia. Was that any rumblings there, or are you guys busy with that whole World Series thing?
No, you know, it's funny. We were doing show prep, getting ready for it today, as a matter of fact, where we were going to talk about trying to figure out what's going on. You know, it's still kind of early. And it doesn't help the fact that Trae Young basically came out and said right now he's bored with the season.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I was like, that probably like you inadvertently put a bullseye on your back.
Yeah.
Like that. You can't say that, even though for the most of the NBA, that's probably true. It's probably boring. But if you don't get these games now, ain't gonna be no playoffs.
Wait, the Hawks are 4-6.
Yeah, they started out great, man. They beat the Dallas Mavericks, and they went on a nice little run, and then all of a sudden, the wheels fell off the wagon 10 games in.
How do you say you're bored with the season at this point? Good golly, Miss Molly.
Yeah, I mean, and when he said it, I was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said. That you know how it was one of those things where you're thinking it, but you probably shouldn't say it.
It's one of those things where it's like he's grateful that it's still college football season.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Hugh, I'm just hoping this Eagles defense turns it around. Now, apparently, according to the numbers, real quick, because I want to be, I mentioned this before, but I want to pull it up again. I mentioned it on the show already, but I'd like to pull it up again for you. Apparently, this Eagles game against the Chargers was the game that they blitzed the most all season long, but it wasn't getting home. The theory is they were blitzing, but they weren't playing press coverage. If you're not playing press coverage and you're blitzing, is that a good idea? Can those two things coexist?
Like I said, like from afar, that's probably what it was. I mean, like from afar, it must have been a disconnect in the secondary, and that's probably why it looked the way that it did, or maybe you were trying to dial some blitzes and the guys on the back end didn't know what they were doing. Like you said, man, I had the benefit of playing Al Harris, Bobby Taylor, and Troy Vincent.
Right.
And all I had to do is look back and say, hey yo, cover me. I'm going in. Hey, cover me. Like, dude, that's not an issue that I had. I did not have an issue with that. None whatsoever.
It's like I'm speaking Chinese to you. It's like compared to your experience.
And part of the reason why it sounds Chinese is because like I can't, I didn't watch what you watched, but it sounds like it might be some issues in the secondary.
Okay.
Let me call him. I got to call my boy Ike Reese and find out what
Good enough. Hugh, always great catching up. I hope you guys, whatever. I hope Freddie Freeman doesn't re-sign with you and goes elsewhere. Anyway, there you go. Hugh Lamont Douglas III, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, brother.
Holla.
Now, for the record, I know better than to ask anyone who played for Jim Johnson whether or not, hey, did you ever have to ask Jim about it blitzing more? And of course not, but I just meant anything else. Anything else you would have rather done or things should have been done? Was Jim open to that conversation? That's all I'm asking. And I think I've told you this before. I remember doing my first ever show with Hollis Thomas. And it was Hollis's first shift at WIP. And they put us up at Finnegan's Wake. Missed that place. A lot of good times at Finnegan's Wake. And they put us up there. It was the day before Wing Bowl, and Hollis came out. I knew his agent. He wanted to do a show. Hollis talked to our bosses. He came out to the show with me. And we were talking about being aggressive on defense. And Hollis was like, this is what you got to do. And Hollis took a napkin, took a marker, and just wrote, this is what you got to do. And he started writing on the I couldn't see what he was doing, but he then held it up to me after 30 seconds of just writing on this napkin. And it was basically a circle of like where the quarterback would be. And then there were 11 arrows pointing to that circle. And he's like, everyone right there, they got to blitz. Everyone right there, they got to get after the quarterback. And I'm like, and that sounds like a guy who played for Jim Johnson for a handful of years. That sounds like Hollis Thomas. So that's what I always think of when I think of the aggression that a guy like Jim Johnson showed as a defensive coordinator. Jonathan Gannon ain't that guy. And I'm still, as I said earlier, my mind is melted at that stat that they blitz more than they ever have in any game so far this season. We're going into week 10. Wait, hold on. It's Tuesday. We're in week 10. Gosh darn ridiculous, if you ask me. My thanks to Hugh Lamont Douglas III jumping on the amazing Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. Coming up, we got our Morning Rush segment. We also have our social media check-in. Some great news in our social media social media check-in. It's always great news to check in with you fine people. But in our Morning Rush segment, some good news regarding the Phillies. Very interesting news, I'll also say. So we'll get to that in just one second. But right now, Let me tell you about the great people at Rothman Orthopaedics. Rothman Orthopaedics bring us our fine guest line each and every day. If you have an orthopedic issue, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence, get past the pain, and be what you were. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Rothman Orthopaedics, the official orthopedic partner of your Sixers, Eagles, and Phillies. How about BetQL? Went out on my own last night. I took Tyrese Maxey over 16.5 points. He ended up with 16. Cool. His shooting was not so good last night. He got his shots, got a lot of open looks, a lot of drives to the lane. Didn't finish. And that's why I happened to just notice that he was going strong to the hole, finishing soft. No thanks. If you want to take advantage of your sportsbook, you want to get the edge over your sportsbook, you got to use BetQL. I didn't last night because I'm an idiot. If you want to make the smart bets, you got to realize that their best bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports. And they also give you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from point spreads, over-unders, player props as well. You don't want to use their model and prefer to do your own research? BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs. Everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineups, injuries, breaking news, and even a leaderboard to help you track your success. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download the BetQL app. How about the great people at Steak and Maine? My man, Tony Cavada. Whether you like to dine in their more upscale steakhouse, their casual bar and patio, whatever it might be, you want to go for some sushi, some seafood, some steaks. Their steaks rated the best place for steaks in America by the Food Network and the Travel Channel as well. So make sure you check them out. Steak and Maine, steakandmaine.com. I always recommend the 2-pound tomahawk steak. Can't get enough of that crab dip, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy that crab dip. And if you got a big party, they got the party table in the back. Seats 10 people or more. You just spin it around. Fantastic. Great time. Steak and Maine, steakandmaine.com. Also, make sure you take part in their fine Cavada Cellars wines. Absolutely delicious, spectacular. Open every day for lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. Steakandmaine.com. How about the awesome people at WinView? You can have a lot of fun at the WinView app. This thing is great. Always a good time. I wanted fantasy this week, so I didn't have to make my emergency bet with WinView. Made another bet, cashed out a little bit. It was very nice. WinView is the only game where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all. Who's the biggest sports fan? If you have those friends and family who think they know everything, you can play them in a WinView contest and have them walk the walk as well as they talk the talk. Maybe. If you want to break up the monotony of family dinners and get-togethers, holidays right around the corner. Who doesn't want to do that? Play a quarter or of Monday Night Football. Play Sunday Night Football, whatever it might be. It's the perfect way to add the extra layer of competition to your fantasy football league. Whether you're tracking games on Sundays or whatever it might be, you can also see what players are killing it for you in your fantasy league or what players could be killing it for you as you didn't draft. And you can bet on them for a prop bet as well. WinView contest is a great thing to challenge a friend on or family. It's not a sports book, not daily fantasy. It's a social gaming app where you can win real money prizes for making predictions on the games that you love. Download the WinView app right now. Lots going on in the Philadelphia sports world, as we all know. Follow it all at PHL Sports Nation. That's Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Let's jump into our social media check-in, brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. See some people that haven't checked in a while checking in. Good to see you guys. April, good to see you. Kevin, pleasure. Mally, what's going on? April, another light shirt. It's been a whole week. Glad you guys are glad you're happy, Marc. I'm miserable. April, thanks for asking. Just terrible. Got the little tutsies we put her in her toddler bed about a month and a half ago. Woo, doggy. Let me tell you, she's been a real easy kid to this point. And now, you never get off easy on being a parent. We all know that. But we had been getting off pretty easy. We were putting her down. My wife did these sleep study classes, right, and all that stuff. And she you put the kid down and you get her on a schedule, and we got her on a schedule, and she slept through the night since she was 6 months old. There's been the once in a blue moon wake up at 1 and not gone to sleep, and But now with the toddler bed, my daughter is like Braveheart. She's like, freedom! And she's like bouncing all over the place. It's ridiculous. She's got a little bit of a cough too. So when she comes into bed with us, she's like, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, when did you start smoking cigars? What the hell's that? But she's good. She's good. We're all fine here. I'm not complaining. It's the greatest thing ever. That's what people don't tell you when they're complaining. Like, that's why I never appreciated negative parenting. Like my buddy who just had his first kid, I'm like, we got one friend who's negative parent, and then we got me who's not. Like negative parent is, just to give an example, negative parent's like, you just had a kid? Welcome to my world. And it's like, oh, you mean the world of greatest thing ever, being a parent? It really is. It's awesome. Anyway, just, what doesn't, it was not great is the fact that I know I've seen Moana about 1,500 times, and Buzz Lightyear, the new Buzz Lightyear movie. I thought I was done with Buzz Lightyear. No. Disney's like, not so fast. We're going to put out a whole new Buzz. This time you're going to see his hair, his beautiful, luscious locks. What the hell was I talking about? Anyway, blacked out for a second. Sorry there. I'm great. I'm kidding. I'm not never miserable. What do we got here? Sorry about that. This is the reason why I don't read the Philly newspapers. Why? Because of this. Front page, Daily News. All right. Sucks for Joel. Hope he gets better. April, absolutely, no doubt. Marc, it wasn't COVID. It was withdrawal from the weed. That was directed at me. Not Joel Embiid, for the record. No, I had the Rona. I had COVID. I had that. It was like the way I described it to people with what I had was, it was like somebody. Oh my! Wow. What's the date? It was like a year ago. I had COVID. It was like somebody unplugged me. It was like, how you look at your cell phone and it's on red, like the battery's on red. That's how I was for like 3 days. And then it was like, I could feel myself sinking into that and then going out of it. And other than that, it was like mono with a headache. Occasionally I had a headache. When I was done, when I was drained, I was drained. I was sitting on the sofa and I just watched Marvel movies for like 3 days. And now I've seen all the Marvel movies. So there you go. Brian, what's happening, Brian? Brian finds the weed comment funny. Can't have withdrawal if you don't stop. April, I know that's a good point. Mally, this might be wrong to say, but at least it's early in the season. Kevin, what's up, Kevin? Nice to have you in. What's going on, Sean? Gannon is playing middle school football, giving the quarterback all the time in the world. Certainly feels like that. Dante, morning, fools. What's up, Dante? Kevin, Bryce is my MVP. Ooh, Kevin, we're getting to that. Wheeler is my Cy Young, Mally. Okay, we're getting to that as well. Brian, Hugh, RJ. Did the Knicks win the championship? Couldn't tell by Twitter. Knicks fans are weird. RJ, thank you. I got maybe 4 Knicks fans that I follow that they're friends of mine. I know personally, obviously. I don't know why they were losing their minds last night over that game. You should have. The fact that it was ever, a 3-point game at one point? That's embarrassing. A 3-point game late in that game. That is embarrassing. Furkan Korkmaz took you for 16 points in the first half. Furkan Korkmaz, who I'm not belittling when I say that, but if you're a Knicks fan, you're not thinking, oh, Philadelphia, we got to watch out for Furkan Korkmaz, and took you for 16 in the first half last night. A couple of Tyrese Maxey makes, and I would have won my bet, but also that's a whole different ball game if he's hitting some shots for you last night. He had 2 threes, I think. He had 2 threes. Did you see the yeah, Dante, they were pretty fast buses there in Atlanta. Sean saying to Dante, fools or Farzy people? Does that mean if you're a Farzy person, you're a fool? Maybe. I don't know. Was pathetic. The buses were moving. Thought we lost by 30 or something. Wait, RJ, the Knicks and the Sixers, sure. Sean, unbelievable that open container's weird. It's a weird thing. I've been in where is it? New Orleans? They don't have any laws in New Orleans, apparently. I remember leaving the Superdome, and I'll never forget the society. When I realized, because Pennsylvania is such a weird state when it comes to booze. If you're from PA and you go to New Orleans, being in that city in Louisiana, it's a whole new world, man. It's a whole new ball game. PA, strict as hell. New Orleans, there's no rules. And I remember leaving the Superdome, and there was this big truck that pulled up, this big Ford F-150, big ass thing, whatever. And these 3 people get out. They pulled over, like half the car was on the sidewalk, half the car was still on the road. And 2 guys get out, and another guy gets out of the front, sets up a table. The 2 other guys get out of the back of the truck, take 2 coolers off, open them up, and just a bar. Boom. A bar was right there. It was $5 imports, $3 domestics. And I was like, I'll have a Heineken. There you go. And I just walked down the street drinking a beer. And I'm like, is it like I felt like when you're a kid and you touch the thermostat for the first time, you just expect your dad to appear out of nowhere and yell at you. Like, that's how I felt when I was holding a beer. I was like, it was a thermostat. And I was just looking around, waiting for my dad to be like, you shouldn't be drinking in public. Or like PA governor comes out, what are you doing with that? Whatever it might be. Anyway, I digress. Benny! What's up, Benny? Welcome in, bud. Farzy talking like his wife is watching live? No, not happening. Farzy bragging about getting mono. So when I had mono, the doctor gave me the test and all that stuff, and then they said, so you have a mono. Any idea how you think you could have contracted mono? And at the time, I was in college with loose morals. And hey, do you have any idea how you got mono? Making out with skanks? Okay, no one's ever that honest. Thank you. You're welcome, doctor. Thank you for studying medicine. Anyway, that's pretty much how that went. And they probably said the same about me. I was making out with that skank from Farzetta. That's how you go. Anyway, COVID. COVID is no joke. Ooh. Oh, April, sorry to see that. Hope your husband's okay now. Better now. Okay, there we go. Better now. Was rough. Definitely wish it wasn't on anyone. Don't wish it on anyone. No doubt. No doubt. Because we all deal with it different. Ray the pouncer. Ray sits back, waits for his spot. Comment. That's right. Ray, why would the Celtics make that trade? Makes no sense for them for Brown, for Simmons. I agree, which is why I love it. I don't know why it makes sense. I don't know why it would make sense. I don't know why it's out there. I don't know why people have put it out there, but it's out there, and I'm here for it. Jalen Brown, come on down. Love to see it. I don't know why. Maybe because of all teams, especially with Brad Stevens being in the front office, of all teams, Ime Udoka, you go play with Ime Udoka, gets Ben Simmons, and maybe he reaches him. I don't know. But if all teams know how to stop Ben Simmons, it's the Sixers. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for everyone that checked in our social media check-in, brought to you by SteakMain and SteakMain.com. All right. Here's what I got for you on the Phillies. I mentioned it earlier. We mentioned in the little subject there regarding your social media check-in with everybody. Harper is a finalist for the MVP. Wheeler is a finalist for the Cy Young Award. Harper's competing against Fernando Tatis and Juan Soto. Wheeler's competing with Max Scherzer and Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns of the Brewers. Wheeler 14-10 on the season with a 2.78 ERA. Led the majors in most innings pitched. Led the National League in strikeouts. So there's that. Harper had an incredible second half of the season and put himself in there. I don't think either one of our guys win. I think Soto ends up taking it in the National League, and I think Burns ends up actually taking it in the National League. I think Soto ends up taking it, and I think Burns ends up taking it, the Cy Young Award in the National League. That's where I think it shakes out. But to have those two guys in the top three is both a blessing and a curse. A blessing is like, oh my God, we got a guy finishing the Cy Young Award, top three. Oh my God, we got a guy finishing the MVP Award, top three. How they do in the playoffs? Oh, the Phillies did not make the playoffs. Are you crazy? So we'll see how that goes. Not to be the bearer of bad news. I just don't think either of them win. I think that's the smart money. What else? Phillies. Blessing and a curse. Now, I mentioned the Friday that I have grown up loving baseball. It's been my favorite sport forever, and it no longer is. I got to put basketball ahead of it. I love hockey. I love football, obviously, and baseball has gone on down the ranking system for me, just because the game's forever now. It's more monotonous than it's ever been, meticulous than it's ever been. And they need to do something to speed up the game. And that's coming from the guy that always argued with his friends when he was growing up. The game's fine. You don't need to speed it up. Now the game is excruciating. Games are at an all-time high for how long it takes to play a baseball game. So instead of making the game better and more efficient, like I wish that an efficiency expert would come in and just say, oh, wait, hold on. No, take this out, take that out, do this. Like something as simple as bullpens. The fact that bullpens are a mile away, you don't need that. Just put them down somewhere. Like every stadium has an indoor batting cage where you can warm up. Just go warm up in there, come out. And here's another thing. Here's my revolutionary idea. In basketball, how weird would it be if Doc Rivers walked onto the court and Joel Embiid, went to Joel Embiid like, I got to talk to you, Joe. Here's the thing. We're about 7-8 minutes into the first quarter. I just don't think that you should be playing for the final 4 minutes of this quarter. So you're going to come out. I'm going to bring Andre Drummond in. And Andre Drummond's like, is it me? Am I coming in? Yeah, you're coming in. Are you sure me? Yeah, you should come in. Right now? Yes, right now. Okay. Hat, ball, mitt, whatever. Run a mile to go out there. Like, that takes forever. Why do we do that in baseball? Why does the manager have to go out, talk to the pitcher, and then they need to come back? Why are we doing that? Just send the other guy in. It's when you know you're taking him out, just have the other guy pull him out. Yeah. Why are we wasting time with 2 walks to the mound? That's what I'm talking about. The little BS in between everything. Stupid stuff like that. Just you can erase in baseball. These are just my radical ideas, folks. My radical ideas. As a man whose favorite word is efficiency. Sixers Bucks tonight, 7:30. Whoever can play for the Sixers, that's fine. Oh, I didn't even finish my point on that. Sorry. So rather than make the baseball game better and more efficient and run like clockwork, the Phillies have decided to move up the game times. 17 games. They have decided to move up the start times to 6:45. So there's going to be 17 games at Citizens Bank Park this year that are going to start at 6:45. Okay. I'd rather just make the game better, but I guess it's a start. So there you go. No Flyers talk. Flyers were off last night, and plus they're back at it tomorrow night against the Leafs. I literally have it written down right there. You can't see that. Never mind. The light's too bad. Anyway, I have it written down. Trust me. Anyway, so that's where we're at with the Phillies. Steph Curry dropped 50 on the Hawks last night. We were chopping that up with you a second ago. Flyers 7:30 versus the Maple Leafs tomorrow night. Maple Leafs 7-5-1 on the season. Cam Atkinson, by the way, folks. What did I tell you? What did your boy tell you about Cam Atkinson when we started the season? Just concentrate on scoring, on goals, and nothing else. 6 goals. His first handful of games with the Philadelphia Flyers. Cam Atkinson is on pace for 49 goals this season. I don't even think he has an assist. I think he just has goals, which is all I'm concerned about. Good to see. Great to see. Also, let's all take a moment to appreciate the country of Portugal. Anyone I've ever talked to about Portugal is like, Portugal's awesome. You got to go to Portugal. So go to Portugal. Another reason that Portugal is awesome. Portugal just passed a law that your boss is not allowed to message you after work hours. How many of y'all's people are moving to Portugal now, huh? Congratulations to Portugal, the greatest country on the planet. That's a funny thing about Europe. Like, a lot of European countries are like, work. What do you like? If you ask somebody what they do in Europe, you know what they're like? They're like, I snowboard. So like, no, what do you do for money? Oh, money? Oh, work. I worked once. What did I do that time? Oh, my cousin owns a restaurant. And I went to work there for like a month, and then I saved money, and then I took the next 8 months off. Like, that's like, what? Portugal's got it right, folks. Your boss can't message you after hours. Let's all move to Portugal. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Much appreciated. As per usual, Jim Hyden produced the program. My thanks to him. My thanks to Hugh Douglas III for jumping on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. And also, this is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. We'll see where the rest of this goes. Hopefully, we find out about the MVPs and the Cy Young Awards sooner rather than later. Monday, I think, is when you're announcing the Cy Young. Tuesday, I believe, a week from today is when they announce the MVP. So we'll follow that as it goes on. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzetta from the Steven Singer Studios. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.